Disclaimer.
I was dead for 8 minutes holding a Valentine's rose. And God said 3 words that made me throw away everything I believed about love.
My name is Jasmine Williams. I am 29 years old. I died for 8 minutes on February 14, 2023.
For years, I struggled with something I never admitted out loud. I was angry at God. Before I begin, please subscribe so more people can hear testimonies like this. Not the kind of anger you scream about in prayer. The quiet kind. The kind that sits in your chest when you are alone at night, scrolling through engagement photos of women who seem less faithful than you, yet they have rings on their fingers. I told myself I was trusting His timing. I posted scriptures about patience on my Instagram. I smiled at church when people asked if I was dating anyone. But deep down, something inside me was drifting, and I refused to face it. I went to church every Sunday. I sang in the choir. I served at the welcome table. I fasted. I prayed. But if I am being honest, most of my prayers were not about drawing closer to Jesus. They were about finally being chosen. I prayed for a husband more than I prayed for holiness. I cried over boys who did not text me back more than I cried over my own sin. I spent hours imagining my wedding day, but I could not remember the last time I spent an hour just worshiping God. Every Valentine's Day hit me like a wave I could not escape. February would come, and suddenly every restaurant had couples holding hands. Every store had red roses and heart-shaped chocolates. Every social media post reminded me of what I did not have. I would sit in my apartment in Detroit, staring at my phone, watching women I went to high school with post pictures of flowers and surprise dates. And I would feel this ache. This deep, hollow ache that whispered, "You are not enough." I tried to ignore it. I tried to tell myself it did not matter. But the truth is, I had made an idol out of being loved by a man. I did not realize it then. But I was worshiping romance. I was worshiping the idea of being desired. I was worshiping Valentine's Day itself, as if that day held the key to my worth. February 14th, 2023 started like every other Valentine's Day. I woke up alone. I checked my phone. No messages. No flowers. No surprise. Just silence. I got dressed. I put on my favorite red dress. I did my makeup carefully. I smiled at myself in the mirror and told myself I was fine. I told myself I did not need a man to enjoy the day. I told myself I was confident and whole in Christ. But I was lying. That evening, I went to a Valentine's singles dinner at a restaurant downtown. It was hosted by some friends from church. The idea was to celebrate being single and content. But the moment I walked in and saw the red and pink decorations, the heart-shaped balloons, the couples at other tables laughing and holding hands, I felt that familiar ache rise up again. I sat down with my friends. We ordered food. We laughed. We took pictures. I posted one on Instagram with the caption, "Blessed and single. God's timing is perfect." I got 47 likes in the first 10 minutes. People commented with heart emojis and "Amen, sister," and "You're glowing." But inside, I felt empty. The restaurant was loud. Music played softly in the background. Glasses clinked. People talked and laughed. I smiled. I nodded. I pretended to be present. But my mind was somewhere else. I was thinking about all the years I had waited, all the prayers I had prayed, all the tears I had cried. I was thinking about the men who chose other women, the dates that went nowhere, the hope that kept dying every February 14th. And then, I felt it. A sharp pain shot through my chest. It was sudden, violent, like something inside me had cracked open. I tried to stand up, but my legs would not move. My hands gripped the edge of the table. My friends were talking, laughing, but their voices started to fade. The music became distant. The lights dimmed at the edges of my vision. I tried to say something. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. And then, everything went dark. One moment I was sitting at that table, surrounded by noise and laughter. The next moment, Silence. Complete silence. My body fell. I felt it happen. I felt myself collapse forward. I heard my friends scream my name. I heard glasses shatter. I heard chairs scraping against the floor. But I was not in my body anymore. I was above it. I was floating, weightless, watching the chaos below me like a scene from a movie. My body lay motionless on the restaurant floor. My red dress crumpled beneath me. My hair is covering my face. People were shouting. Someone was calling 911. My best friend was kneeling beside me, shaking my shoulders, crying. Jasmine. Jasmine, wake up. Please wake up. But I could not wake up. Because I was not there anymore. I could see everything, yet I could touch nothing. I tried to reach for my friend. I tried to speak. But my hand passed through her like smoke. I was invisible. I was outside of time. The restaurant's sounds became muffled, like I was underwater. Voices echoed. Movements slowed. Everything felt surreal. And then I felt something else. A pull. Not from above, but from below. It started as a whisper. Soft. Almost gentle. But it grew stronger. I tried to resist it. I tried to stay near my body. But the pull was relentless. It wrapped around me like invisible hands, dragging me downward. The restaurant disappeared. The lights faded. The voices vanished. And I was surrounded by darkness. Cold, heavy darkness that pressed against me from every side. I tried to scream, but no sound came. I tried to pray, but the words would not form. My spirit trembled. Fear gripped me in a way I had never known. This was not sleep. This was not a dream. This was real. And then, I heard it. A whisper. Faint at first, but clear. You gave your heart to the wrong things. The whisper echoed in the darkness. Not loud, but undeniable. It did not come from outside of me. It came from within. Like a truth I had always known but refused to believe. My spirit shook. I wanted to deny it. I wanted to argue. I wanted to scream that I went to church, that I served, that I prayed. But the words would not come. The pull grew stronger. I was not falling. Falling would imply I had control. I was being dragged. Something unseen had me in its grip, and I could not break free. The darkness thickened. It was not just the absence of light. It was alive. It moved. It breathed. It pressed against me like heavy smoke that I could not escape. And then, heat. At first, it was faint. A warmth rising from below. But within seconds, it intensified. The air grew thick. Heavy. Suffocating. Each breath I tried to take felt like inhaling steam. My skin prickled. My spirit trembled. The cold darkness was being replaced by something worse. Burning. Not fire. Not flames. But a heat that came from everywhere at once. It seeped into my bones. It wrapped around my chest. It made my soul feel like it was being crushed under the weight of something I could not see. I tried to scream. I opened my mouth, but no sound escaped. I tried to turn back, to claw my way upward. But there was nothing to grab. Nothing to hold. I was powerless. Helpless. Trapped in a descent I could not stop. The darkness began to shift. Shadows moved. Slowly at first, then faster. They twisted and writhed like they had life. I saw shapes in the distance. Silhouettes. Figures hunched over. Heads bowed. Arms reaching out toward nothing. Their movements were slow, sluggish, like they were trapped in thick water. And then I heard it. Screaming. Faint at first. Distant. But it grew louder. One voice. Then another. Then dozens. Then hundreds. The sound was unbearable. Not the kind of scream you hear in a horror movie. This was different. This was despair. This was agony mixed with regret. This was the sound of souls who knew they were lost and could not escape. I wanted to cover my ears, but I had no hands. I wanted to close my eyes, but I could not look away. The heat intensified. The air grew heavier. My spirit felt like it was being pressed down by an invisible weight. And then, I landed. The descent stopped abruptly. My feet touched something solid. I looked down. The ground beneath me was not dirt or stone. It was cracked, blackened, glowing faintly with embers that pulsed like dying coals. The surface radiated heat that made my spirit recoil. I lifted my head slowly. The realm stretched endlessly in every direction. Dim, shadowed, lit only by a faint red glow that seemed to come from the ground itself. There were no flames, no demons, no Hollywood version of hell. Just emptiness. Oppressive, suffocating emptiness. And souls. Everywhere. They stood alone. Some wandered aimlessly. Others knelt on the ground, heads bowed, hands covering their faces. No one spoke. No one looked at each other. They were trapped in their own torment, isolated in their own regret. I saw a woman nearby. She stood motionless, staring down at her hands. She held something, a rose. But it was not red anymore. It was black, wilted, crumbling. She tried to clutch it tighter, but it turned to ash in her palms. She sobbed silently, then reached down to pick up another rose that appeared at her feet. The moment she touched it, it crumbled again. Over and over. Endless. I wanted to help her. I wanted to speak. But I could not move. Then I saw another figure. A man. He knelt on the ground, holding a small velvet box. He opened it, closed it, opened it again. Inside was a ring. But every time he opened the box, the ring disappeared. He cried out in anguish. Then the ring reappeared. He reached for it. It vanished. Again. And again. And again. I realized what I was seeing. These were not just souls in torment. These were people who had worshipped things that could not save them. Romance. Relationships. Validation. Love that was not rooted in God. My chest tightened. My spirit trembled. I looked around desperately. I saw hearts carved into stone walls, crumbling. I saw red roses scattered across the ground, turning to ash. I saw jewelry, gifts, love letters, all disintegrating in the heat. And then I heard it again. That voice. Quiet. But absolutely. This is where misplaced worship leads. I turned, but I saw no one. The voice did not come from a person. It came from everywhere. From the air itself. From my own soul. I tried to speak. I tried to ask why I was here. But before I could form the words, the atmosphere shifted. The red glow intensified. The heat pressed harder against my spirit. The cries grew louder. And I felt a presence beside me. Not human. Not physical. But undeniable. I turned slowly, trembling. And the darkness moved. The presence did not announce itself. It did not speak. But I felt it the way you feel someone watching you in an empty room. The air around me grew heavier. The heat intensified. My spirit trembled in a way I cannot fully explain. It was not fear of being hurt. It was fear of being seen. Truly seen. Every hidden thought. Every secret prayer. Every lie I told myself. I turned slowly. There was no figure. No face. No body. But the presence was there. It stood beside me, or within me. I could not tell. It was authority. It was truth. It was holiness so pure that my soul felt filthy in comparison. And then it spoke. Not with a voice. Not with sound. The words came directly into my spirit. Clear. Undeniable. Unavoidable. You sought a husband more than you sought my face. The words hit me like a physical blow. My knees buckled. I wanted to deny it. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to say I prayed. I wanted to say I went to church. I wanted to list all the things I did right. But the truth silenced me. Because deep down, I knew. I had prayed for a ring more than I prayed for righteousness. I had cried over being single more than I cried over my sin. I had spent more time imagining my wedding day than I spent worshiping the one who died for me. The presence did not condemn me. It did not accuse me. It simply revealed the truth I had been hiding from myself. And then, the atmosphere shifted again. The red glow around me began to pulse. The ground beneath me trembled. The shadows in the distance grew darker. And suddenly, the realm opened up before me like a curtain being pulled back. I saw, not with my eyes, with something deeper. My spirit was forced to witness what I had refused to see in life. I saw millions of souls. Men, women, young, old, all trapped in the same cycle. They reached for each other, but never touched. They called out names, but no one answered. They held on to memories, but the memories brought no comfort. I saw women kneeling on the ground, clutching photographs of men who had left them. They whispered their names over and over. "Come back. Please come back. I cannot live without you." But the men never came. And the women remained, trapped in their longing, trapped in their worship of a person who could not save them. I saw men pacing back and forth, rehearsing speeches they never got to say, apologies they never made, confessions they never gave. They spoke into the emptiness, hoping someone would hear. But no one did. They were alone, eternally alone. I saw couples standing side by side, but not together. They stared ahead, never looking at each other. They had worshipped their relationship more than they worshipped God. They had made their love the center of their world. And when that love faded, they had nothing left. No foundation, no truth, just emptiness. The presence spoke again. This is where unforgiveness leads. This is where pride leads. This is where idolatry leads. I watched as the scene shifted. I saw a young woman, maybe 25 years old. She stood frozen, staring at a mirror that hung in the air before her. But the reflection was not her face. It was a slideshow of moments. I saw her sitting in church, distracted, looking at a man 3 rows ahead instead of worshiping. I saw her lying in bed at night, scrolling through his social media, wondering why he did not notice her. I saw her on her knees, praying, but the prayer was not about holiness. It was about him. God, please let him see me. Please let him choose me. Please let him love me. The woman in the vision reached toward the mirror, tears streaming down her face. I just wanted to be loved, she whispered. I just wanted to matter to someone. And the presence responded. You mattered to me. But you did not seek me. You sought him. The mirror shattered. The woman collapsed. And the vision faded. I could barely breathe. My chest felt tight. My spirit felt crushed under the weight of what I was seeing. Because I was not just watching her story. I was watching my own. The presence did not stop. The realm shifted again. This time I saw altars. Hundreds of them. Thousands. They were not made of stone or wood. They were made of hearts. Human hearts. And on each altar, offerings. Red roses. Chocolates. Jewelry. Love letters. Dinner reservations. Engagement rings. Wedding dresses. But the altars were crumbling. The offerings were turning to ash. The hearts were breaking apart. And above each altar, a name was written. Not the name of God. Not the name of Jesus. But the names of people. Boyfriends. Girlfriends. Husbands. Wives. Crushes. Exes. The presence spoke once more. They gave their worship to the created, not the creator. They built altars in their hearts for people who could never save them. And when those people failed them, their foundation collapsed. I saw a man kneeling before one of the altars. He held a picture of a woman. His wife. He had loved her more than he loved God. He had made her his everything. And when she left him, his world shattered. He could not recover. He could not move on. Because she had been his God. And when his God left, he had nothing. I wanted to look away. I wanted to close my eyes. But I could not. I was forced to see. Forced to understand. The presence turned my attention to another vision. This time, I saw Valentine's Day itself. Not the celebration. The origin. I saw ancient rituals, pagan ceremonies, blood sacrifices to false gods, fertility rites, worship of Cupid, a false deity. I saw the enemy's hand in the creation of the day. I saw how it was designed to shift focus away from God and toward human desire. And then I saw the modern version. Churches hosting Valentine's banquets, pastors preaching sermons about finding your soulmate, Christians treating February 14th like a holy day, couples posting pictures with captions like, "God bless me with my Valentine," singles feeling condemned because they were alone. The presence spoke. This day was never mine. It belongs to traditions men created. Yet my people celebrate it as if I commanded it. They do not ask where it came from. They do not seek my truth. They follow the crowd. And the enemy smiles. I felt shame flood through me. Because I had done exactly that. I had celebrated Valentine's Day my entire life without ever questioning it. I had participated in church events centered around romance. I had prayed for love on that day like it was sacred. But it was not sacred. It was a counterfeit. The presence continued. Millions fall because of this. Not because love is wrong, but because they love wrongly. They give their hearts to what cannot save them. They worship feelings. They worship romance. They worship the idea of being chosen by someone, anyone, instead of resting in the truth that I already chose them. Tears I did not know I could cry in this realm began to fall. My spirit wept. Because I was one of those millions. I had fallen into the same trap. I had worshipped the gift instead of the giver. I had sought validation from men instead of resting in the love of Christ. The presence let me sit in that realization for what felt like an eternity. The heat pressed against me. The cries of other souls echoed around me. The weight of truth crushed me. And then, the presence did something I did not expect. It showed me myself, not a vision of someone else. Me, Jasmine. My life. My choices. My heart. I saw myself at 16, crying in my bedroom because a boy did not ask me to prom. I saw myself at 21, sitting in my car after a bad date, asking God why he was withholding love from me. I saw myself at 25, scrolling through wedding hashtags on Instagram, feeling like I was being left behind. I saw myself at 27, lying in bed, whispering desperate prayers. God, I cannot do this anymore. I need someone. Please send someone. But in every moment, I was not seeking God. I was seeking relief. I was seeking validation. I was seeking proof that I was worthy of love. I saw the nights I stayed up late on dating apps instead of reading my Bible. I saw the mornings I woke up and checked my phone for messages before I prayed. I saw the Sundays I sat in church, distracted, wondering if the single man in the back row would notice me. And I saw the truth I had buried deep. I had made a husband my God. I had made marriage my salvation. I had made being loved by a man the measuring stick of my worth. I thought I was trusting God. But I was trusting in the idea that one day he would give me what I really wanted. And if he did not, I was angry. The presence spoke once more. You prayed for a husband, but you did not pray to know me. You fasted for a relationship, but you did not fast to become holy. You worshipped the idea of love, but you did not worship the God who is love. I broke. Not physically. Spiritually. Something inside me shattered. I fell to my knees on the burning ground. I had no defense. No explanation. No excuse. I was guilty. And the worst part was not the guilt itself. It was the realization that I had wasted years. Years I could have spent growing closer to Jesus. Years I could have spent serving him with my whole heart. Years I could have spent becoming the woman he called me to be. But instead, I spent those years waiting. Waiting for a man. Waiting for romance. Waiting for a Valentine's Day that would finally make me feel whole. The presence did not leave. It stayed beside me as I wept. And in that moment, I realized something. This was not punishment. This was revelation. I was being shown the truth so I could carry it back. The cries around me grew louder. The heat pressed harder. And I knew I was not meant to stay here. But before I could leave, I had to see one more thing. The presence lifted me to my feet. I did not move on my own. I felt myself being pulled upward, not out of the realm, but deeper into the vision. The red glow around me intensified. The cries faded into a low hum. And suddenly, I was no longer standing in the open expanse of the realm. I was in a room. It was not a physical room. It had no walls, no ceiling, no floor. But I was surrounded, enclosed, trapped in a space I could not escape. And in the center of the room was a table. On the table sat objects. Not random objects. My objects. Things I had touched. Things I had treasured. Things I had prayed over. I saw my phone, the screen glowing faintly. On it, Instagram, open to a post. A wedding announcement. I remembered that post. I had stared at it for 20 minutes, crying, wondering why God gave her a husband and not me. I had liked the post. I had commented, "Congratulations." But in my heart, I had been bitter. Next to the phone, a journal. My prayer journal. I reached for it, and it opened on its own. Pages flipped rapidly. I saw my handwriting. Entry after entry. Date after date. God, please send me a husband. God, I am ready. Where is he? God, I am tired of waiting. God, why do you keep saying no? God, do you even hear me? Every single entry was about the same thing. A man. A relationship. A ring. There were no prayers about becoming more like Christ. No prayers about serving others. No prayers about holiness or purity or spiritual growth. Just desperation. The journal closed. I tried to look away, but I could not. Next to the journal, a calendar. February was circled. February 14th had a heart drawn around it. Every year. For the past 10 years. I had marked that day like it was sacred. Like it was a day I had to celebrate. Like it held the key to my happiness. The presence spoke. You gave this day power over your heart. You allowed it to define your worth. You cried every February 14th because you were alone. But you never asked why you felt that way. You never questioned the source of the pain. I wanted to argue. I wanted to say it was just a day. I wanted to say it did not mean anything. But the truth was undeniable. I had given Valentine's Day control over my emotions. I had allowed it to become a measuring stick of whether I was loved or not. The presence continued. The enemy does not need to attack you with obvious evil. He attacks you with traditions, with holidays, with celebrations that seem innocent. He whispers that you are less than because you are alone. He convinces you that love is found in a relationship instead of in me. And slowly, you drift. The objects on the table began to fade. And in their place, new images appeared. I saw myself 5 years from now. Still single. Still waiting. Still bitter. I saw myself at church, smiling on the outside, but hollow on the inside. I saw myself serving, but without joy. I saw myself praying, but without faith. I saw myself becoming the woman I feared most. The woman who served God out of obligation, not love. The woman who was present in body, but absent in spirit. And then I saw another version of myself. This version was different. She was at peace. She worshipped with her whole heart. She served with joy. She prayed with faith. She was single, but she was whole. Because her identity was not in being chosen by a man. It was in being chosen by God. The presence spoke. This is the choice. Continue to seek what cannot save you. Or seek me with your whole heart. True love is not found in romance. True love is found in surrender. The vision faded. The room dissolved. And I was back in the open realm. The heat. The cries. The shadows. But something had changed. I understand now. I understood why I was here. I understood what I had been doing wrong. I had been seeking love in all the wrong places. I had been worshiping at the altar of romance. I had been giving my heart to things that could never fill the emptiness inside me. And I realized something else. I was not the only one. The presence directed my attention to the souls around me. I looked closer this time. I saw their faces. I saw their pain. And I realized many of them were believers. They had gone to church. They had prayed. They had served. But they had allowed one thing to become their god. For some, it was romance. For others, it was marriage. For others, it was validation. For others, it was being desired. They had not rejected God outright. They had simply placed something else on the throne of their heart. And when that thing failed them, they had no foundation. The presence spoke one final time. This is why you must go back. This is why you must warn them. Tell them to guard their hearts. Tell them to examine what they worship. Tell them that I am a jealous God, and I will not share my throne. I nodded. I did not speak. I could not speak. But my spirit agreed. And then, I saw something I had not seen before. A light. Faint at first. Far in the distance. But growing brighter. It was not red. It was not dim. It was pure. White. Brilliant. It cut through the darkness like a sword. And with the light came a voice. Not the presence. Someone else. The voice was strong. Compassionate. Authoritative. Your time is not finished. The ground beneath me trembled. The heat began to fade. The cries grew distant. The shadows retreated. I looked toward the light and I saw a figure. I could not see a face. I could not see details. But I knew who it was. Jesus. He did not walk toward me. He simply appeared. One moment the light was far. The next moment, he was beside me. I fell to my knees. Not because I was forced to. Because I wanted to. Because in his presence, everything else became meaningless. The pain, the regret, the shame, all of it faded in the face of his love. He reached down and placed his hand on my shoulder. I felt warmth. Not the burning heat of the realm, but the warmth of life, of grace, of mercy. He spoke. You will return. You will warn them. You will tell them what you have seen. And you will live differently. I tried to respond. I tried to say I was sorry. I tried to say I would do better. But before I could speak, he lifted me. Not with his hands. With his presence. I felt myself being pulled upward. Away from the realm. Away from the heat. Away from the cries. The light grew brighter. The darkness shattered like glass. And suddenly, I was moving. Fast. Faster than I could comprehend. I saw the realm shrink below me. I saw the souls trapped in their torment. I saw the altars crumbling. I saw the red glow fading. And then, I saw something else. My body. It was lying on a hospital bed. Tubes. Wires. Machines beeping. Doctors and nurses surrounding me. My best friend is standing in the corner, sobbing. My mother is on her knees, praying. I moved closer. The light guided me. I hovered above my body for a moment. I saw my chest. Still. Motionless. No breath. No heartbeat. And then, the light pushed me downward. I felt myself collide with my body. The impact was violent. Suddenly. Jarring. Air rushed into my lungs. My heart slammed against my chest. My eyes flew open. The hospital room was bright. Too bright. Voices shouted. Hands grabbed me. Someone yelled, "She's back. She's breathing. She's alive." I gasped. I choked. I coughed. My throat burned. My chest ached. My entire body felt heavy, like I had been gone for years instead of minutes. A nurse leaned over me. "Jasmine, can you hear me? Jasmine, stay with us." I nodded. I tried to speak, but no words came. My best friend rushed to my side, tears streaming down her face. "Oh my God, Jasmine. Oh my God. You're okay. You're okay." But I was not okay. I was changed. I had seen the truth. I had been warned. And I could never go back to the way I was before. I spent 3 days in the hospital. 3 days of tests. 3 days of doctors asking me questions I could not answer. What happened? Do you remember anything? Do you have a history of heart problems? I told them I remembered collapsing at the restaurant. I told them I remembered the pain in my chest. But I did not tell them what I saw. I did not tell them about the realm. I did not tell them about the presence. I did not tell them about the warning. Because how do you explain something like that to people who only believe in what they can measure? My mother stayed with me every night. She slept in the chair beside my bed, holding my hand, praying quietly. My best friend brought me flowers and magazines and tried to make me smile. My pastor came to visit. He prayed over me. He told me God had spared my life for a reason. And I knew he was right. But I was not ready to talk about it yet. On the 3rd day, they discharged me. The doctors said it was a cardiac event. Stress-induced. They gave me medications. They told me to rest. They told me to avoid stressful situations. They told me I was lucky to be alive. Lucky. I sat in the passenger seat of my mother's car as she drove me home. I stared out the window at the streets of Detroit. People walking, laughing, talking on their phones, living their lives like nothing had changed. But everything had changed for me. I could not stop thinking about what I saw. The souls, the altars, the cries, the truth. I replayed the presence's words over and over in my mind. You sought a husband more than you sought my face. It was true, and I could not deny it anymore. When I got home, I went straight to my bedroom. I closed the door. I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at the wall. My phone buzzed. Messages. Notifications. People asking if I was okay. People sending prayers and well wishes. But I did not respond. I opened my Bible. I had not opened it in weeks. Dust had settled on the cover. I flipped through the pages slowly, not looking for anything specific, just needing to feel the weight of it in my hands. And then I saw it. A verse I had read 100 times before. But this time, it hit differently. Matthew 6 verse 33. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Seek first. Not seek second. Not seek when it is convenient. Not seek after you get what you want. Seek first. I had not done that. I had sought love first. I had sought validation first. I had sought romance first. And God. He had been an afterthought. A backup plan. A source I turned to only when I needed something. I closed the Bible and placed it on my lap. Tears fell silently. I did not sob. I did not cry out loud. I just sat there, broken, grateful, humbled, because I should not have come back. I should have stayed in that realm. But Jesus gave me another chance. And I was not going to waste it. I got on my knees beside my bed. For the first time in years, I prayed without asking for anything. I did not pray for a husband. I did not pray for love. I did not pray for someone to choose me. I just prayed. God, I am sorry. I am sorry for making an idol out of romance. I am sorry for seeking validation from men instead of resting in your love. I am sorry for wasting years chasing something that could never fill me. Forgive me. Change me. Use me. The words were simple, but they were real. And for the first time in a long time, I felt peace. Not happiness. Not excitement. Not relief. Peace. The kind of peace that comes when you finally stop running and just surrender. I stayed on my knees for over an hour. I cried. I prayed. I confessed. I repented. And when I finally stood up, something inside me had shifted. I was different. I went in my closet and pulled out a box. Inside were things I had saved over the years. Love letters from exes. Movie ticket stubs from dates. Photos of men I thought I would marry. Souvenirs from Valentine's days past. I stared at the box for a long time. These things had meant so much to me. I had held on to them like they were treasures. Like they defined my story. But they did not define me anymore. I carried the box outside to the trash. I opened the lid. And I threw it all away. Not out of bitterness. Not out of anger, but out of freedom. I did not need those memories anymore. I did not need to hold on to what could have been. I did not need to romanticize the past. I was letting go. And as I walked back inside, I felt lighter. Over the next few weeks, I began to change. Not overnight, not dramatically, but slowly, intentionally. I deleted my dating apps. All of them. I stopped scrolling through engagement posts on Instagram. I stopped comparing my life to other people's highlight reels. I stopped marking February 14th on my calendar like it was a day that mattered. I started waking up earlier to pray. I started reading my Bible every morning. Not out of obligation, but out of hunger. I wanted to know God. Really know Him. Not just know about Him. I started serving at church differently. Before, I served because it looked good, because people expected it. But now, I served because I wanted to, because I was grateful, because I had been given a second chance. And people noticed. My best friend asked me what changed. My mother said I seemed lighter. My pastor said there was something different in my spirit. And there was. I had died. And when I came back, I was not the same. 2 months after my death, I knew it was time to share my testimony. I had been holding it inside, processing it, praying about it. But the presence's words kept echoing in my mind. You will warn them. I could not stay silent anymore. I started small. I shared my story with my small group at church. 6 women sitting in a circle in someone's living room. I told them everything. The collapse. The realm. The souls. The altars. The warning about Valentine's Day. The presence. The vision of my own heart. Some of them cried. Some of them sat in silence. One woman looked at me like I was crazy. But another woman, she broke down. She confessed that she had been doing the same thing. Seeking a husband more than seeking God. Making romance an idol. Feeling empty every February 14th. And she thanked me for being honest. That night, I posted my testimony on social media. I did not expect much. I thought maybe a few people would read it. Maybe a few would share it. But within 24 hours, my inbox was flooded. Messages from women I had never met. Women from different cities, different states, different countries. Women who said they felt the same way. Women who cried every Valentine's Day. Women who had made marriage their goal instead of holiness. Women who had prayed for a husband more than they prayed for intimacy with Christ. One woman wrote, I thought I was the only one. I thought something was wrong with me. Thank you for being brave enough to tell the truth. Another wrote, I have been angry at God for years because He has not given me a husband. But after reading your story, I realized I have been worshiping the wrong thing. Another wrote, I am married, but I worshipped my husband more than I worshipped God. And now that our marriage is struggling, I have nothing to stand on. Your testimony woke me up. I read every message. I responded to as many as I could. And I realized this was bigger than me. This was a message millions of people needed to hear. I started speaking at churches. Small ones at first, then larger ones. I shared my testimony at women's conferences, college campus ministries, youth groups. Everywhere I was invited, I went. And everywhere I went, the same thing happened. Women wept. Men nodded in recognition. People came forward after services, confessing that they had made relationships their God. That they had placed their identity in being loved by someone instead of resting in the truth that God already loved them. One young woman approached me after a service in Atlanta. She was 22 years old. Tears streamed down her face. She said, I have been in 3 toxic relationships in the past 2 years. I keep choosing men who hurt me. And I could not figure out why. But after hearing your testimony, I realized I have been seeking validation from men because I do not believe God really loves me. I hugged her. I prayed with her. And I watched as she surrendered her heart to Jesus in a way she never had before. Another woman reached out to me through email. She was in her 40s, never married. She said she had spent 20 years bitter at God, angry that he never gave her a husband. She had stopped going to church, stopped praying, stopped believing he cared. But after hearing my testimony, she repented. She went back to church. She began seeking God again, not for what he could give her, but for who he is. The testimonies kept coming, and I realized the warning was not just about Valentine's Day. It was about misplaced worship. It was about making anything other than God the center of your life. For some people, it was romance. For others, it was career. For others, it was money. For others, it was social media validation. For others, it was their children. For others, it was their reputation. Anything that takes the place of God in your heart is an idol. And idols will always fail you. I began teaching women how to recognize the signs, how to examine their hearts, how to identify what they were really worshiping. I told them, if you pray more about finding a relationship than you pray about becoming holy, that is a sign. If you cry more over being single than you cry over your sin, that is a sign. If you spend more time scrolling through dating apps than you spend reading your Bible, that is a sign. If your joy is dependent on whether someone chooses you, that is a sign. I shared scriptures that changed my life. Psalm 37 verse 4. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Not because he is a vending machine, but because when you truly delight in him, your desires change. You stop wanting temporary things. You start wanting eternal things. Proverbs 4 verse 23. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. Not guard your heart by building walls, but guard your heart by protecting what you give your affection to, by being intentional about what you worship. Colossians 3 verse 2. Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. Romance is an earthly thing. Marriage is an earthly thing. Even good things can become idols if we place them above God. I started a blog, a podcast, a YouTube channel. I shared my testimony over and over. And every time I shared it, someone's life changed. Months turned into a year. And I was still single. But I was no longer broken about it. I was no longer angry. I was no longer waiting for a man to complete me. Because I had found completeness in Christ. I still had moments of loneliness. I still had days where I wondered if I would ever get married. But those moments no longer controlled me. They no longer defined me. I had learned the truth. True love is not found in a relationship. True love is found in surrender. True love is found in seeking God with your whole heart. True love is Jesus, and he is enough. 1 year after my death, February 14th came again. And for the first time in my life, I did not feel the ache. I did not feel the sadness. I did not feel the emptiness. I spent the day in worship. I spent the day in prayer. I spent the day thanking God for sparing my life, for opening my eyes, for giving me a message to share. And as I sat in my living room that evening, I felt his presence. Not the presence from the realm, but his presence. Warm, gentle, peaceful. And I heard him whisper to my spirit, "Well done, daughter. You chose me, and I am pleased." Tears fell, but they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of gratitude, because I had been given a second chance, and I did not waste it. If you are still here, thank you for listening. I want you to know, this testimony is not just my story. It is a warning. It is a call to examine your heart, to ask yourself, what am I really worshiping? What have I placed on the throne of my heart? If it is anything other than God, it will fail you. Let it go. Surrender it. Seek him first. And watch how everything else falls into place. I am praying for you tonight. Wherever you are, whatever you are struggling with, know that you are loved. Not because someone chose you, but because God chose you first.